And welcome to another episode of the Franchise Academy. This is a podcast about everything franchising. Today, we're going to be talking about marketing. So I have a marketing guru, Evan Knox, is going to come on and give us some great information on how to digital market right now in 2020, 2021 coming up, what's new, what's hot, and what's not. If you've never listened to the Franchise Academy before, my name is Tom Scarta, and I match people with opportunities based on skills, personality, goals, kind of like the e-harmony of business is what I like to call it. And I help people that are frustrated with their career, people that don't know if they have a career any longer because they're getting downsized for whatever reason. And I help people also diversify investments. So you could get into a franchise, not change your career, but be an investment, like a silent partner, and be involved about 10 hours a week. And I help people all over the country. Been doing it since 2005. I've owned and operated my own franchises. My first franchise was a smoothie franchise, which was great. I built it up into 3 locations, sold it, and semi-retired at 41 years old. My second franchise was a miserable failure, and I lost a ton of money on that. But that's what made me a franchise expert. And I wrote the book Franchise Savvy, which is about that experience. And so if you want to learn about franchising, let's have a conversation. I don't want you to get into any trouble and make mistakes in choosing the right franchise the way I did the second time around. So I'll be your coach. Reach out. So today I have Evan Knox with me. And Evan is just a great entrepreneur and a marketing wizard, a marketing expert. And so what he says, most people just throw money at marketing and hope that it will work. Caffeine Marketing is the name of Evan's company, and he's designed a better way to help businesses create marketing that's profitable and not painful, which I love. So he delivers some great information and great results for his companies, and he's helped way over 100 companies fix their marketing. So Evan, welcome to the Franchise Academy.
Hey, Tom, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, this is great. I'm so happy to have you on. And so how did you start Caffeine Marketing? I know you had a lot of adversity growing up, and you had your dad issues and home issues and all sorts of crazy things. How did you get into this world?
Yeah, well, originally my marketing experience starts back with my grandfather when I was probably 12 or 13 years old. I grew up the son of an entrepreneur and the grandson of one and the great grandson of one, as far up as we know. So like I don't know how I ever share this, but I think it's so fun. My great grandfather owned a cigarette vending machine. I don't know if it was a franchise, but he would go, install these machines and sell them to other companies and all that stuff. And then my grandfather owned a jewelry store. So we went from cigarette vending to jewelry store. And then my dad actually did diamond wholesale. So my dad worked in the same industry as my grandfather, but on the B2B side.
Yep. And
then I ended up starting Caffeine. But originally I got my start in marketing with my grandfather. And so I remember my grandfather kind of pulling me over one day as I would go help him, quote unquote, when I was 12 at his shop. And he pulled me aside. He's like, hey, Evan, I went to Georgia State, did all this marketing, whatever. He goes, let me teach you about marketing. And so we sit there together and we start designing an ad for the Atlanta Symphony, which is like a symphony here in Atlanta. Well, duh. But anyway, so we design this thing and he starts telling me the pitfalls of marketing, how people do marketing wrong, all this stuff. I thought that was super interesting. Well, fast forward, probably 10 years later, and my dad had passed away at that point. And I had been doing marketing at a nonprofit in Charlotte, and that was part of my role there. And I thought to myself, you know what? I can't help my dad anymore because he's not around. I can't really help my grandfather because he's about to retire, but I can't help other small business owners and entrepreneurs grow their company and make marketing profitable. Because being the son and grandson of one, I saw them just throw money on the wall hoping something would stick. And I thought, you know what? There's got to be a better way to actually do marketing and make this profitable and predictable. So that's why I started Caffeine Marketing about 3 years ago and change.
Yeah, and you've helped over 100 business owners be successful with their marketing. So I think that there's nothing more important in marketing. I mean, the reason I do the podcast is marketing. So what's something that a business owner can do right now, whether a franchise or not? what could they do that's simple, easy, and really not expensive?
Well, I think the first thing that's most important is to actually understand the foundations of marketing. And I think, I was talking to a friend earlier today, and we were just talking about how, we always get obsessed with the next tool, the next platform, what's up and coming. Should we be on TikTok right now? Because everybody's on TikTok.
Right.
Is that what we should be
I
doing?
was just going to bring that up, Evan. TikTok. What the heck is going on? What is that? Go ahead.
Yeah, we can talk about it. So everybody thinks about the platform. They either think about the platform, they think about a tool, and ultimately that's the exact same symptom that I'm talking about when people throw things on the wall, hoping something will stick. They hear something, and it's almost like you're wanting a hot stock tip. It's like, oh, that works right now. Let's go do that. But in reality, that's not how you build a winning marketing funnel. This is not. That's not. You might hit gold at some point, just like if you're just picking random stocks on Robinhood or whatever. But really, you're going to lose a lot of money that way. And the same thing goes for if you just pick random stocks. So if we go back, the most simple thing that I would encourage, business owners, franchise owners, soon to be, whichever, to really understand is the marketing funnel. There's thousands of different ways to define the marketing funnel. Some people say it's, like 7 steps long or 3 steps in different versions, whatever. However, my favorite is very simple. It's just brand awareness, consideration, and conversion. If you understand brand awareness, consideration, and conversion, you can then fill in the different platforms and tools to help customers go through that journey. But if you don't understand that process that they go through, then ultimately you're not going to know what tool needs to go where. You're going to be using the wrong thing. You're going to spend too much money on one thing when in reality you actually need to increase a different one. So, for example, a lot of businesses think, man, we really need to advertise. And there's a lawyer who I know who is like obsessed with doing billboards, which, I guess billboards have their place. That actually, I think they do. But for the most part, that most small business owners don't necessarily need a billboard. He's over there thinking, man, if I just got a billboard, that's going to help us. Well, in reality, that is a brand awareness play right there. A billboard is a brand awareness play. It is ultimately making people aware of your brand. We have to ask the question, is that the best investment of making people aware of your brand? Not really. There's plenty of other ways to do that and track that to see how many impressions that you're going to get. An impression is very simply just, people seeing your ad. But Facebook ads might be a better way to do that, or a less expensive way to do that. So the thing I want people to know is that you need to understand brand awareness, consideration, conversion, and audit that for your company. So figure out what you're doing currently and how people find out about you, and then do you have anything to encourage them to work with you after they find out with you, and ultimately how easy is it to work with you in that conversion point in the funnel.
Wow, that's great. And so as you're saying that, I'm thinking about my own brand awareness and the lack of it. So I think like, wow, I should have like a window, like I should wrap my car in my logo and say, if you hate your job, you hate your commute, call me. I'll help you find a business instead.
Yeah. That would be brand awareness, because ultimately these are people who've never heard about you, who are now hearing about you for the first time.
Right. I love that. So when you say consideration, what does that mean?
So consideration is the point in which somebody is aware of your company. Your company may not be top of mind for them, but they're aware of it. And so you want to be in a position where when they encounter a problem that your product or service solves, that you become top of mind and they think, oh, you know what, I need to go work with them. Sometimes in the consideration phase, we actually agitate the problem. We talk about the problem that the customer is experiencing in our marketing messaging so that it agitates the need for them to actually take action and move towards conversion. But a really great way to build conversion into, not conversion, but to build systems in the consideration phase for your business or your company is to put some sort of lead generating PDF on your website. So if you can put a lead generating PDF on your website, gather email addresses, and then send those people email addresses periodically, you can have some sort of automated email campaign for the first 5 or 6 emails. And then after that, they go into essentially a monthly newsletter or weekly newsletter. And all that does is it keeps your brand top of mind when they come to the point where they need that problem solved. Another great way, and this is very inexpensive. It does cost money, but it's very inexpensive. And I would encourage most businesses to do this, is to have some sort of retargeting campaign on Facebook ads. You don't have to go build, it's not overly complex to build out a just just the retargeting campaign. You basically need a piece of code on your website that then is going to tell Facebook who those people are, and then you're going to be able to show just those people ads. Often you can spend $1 or $2 a day on that, and that's sufficient for small businesses. But the key is to just don't get crazy, because you can waste a lot of money on Facebook ads if you don't know what you're doing. But that's the one thing, and I'm going to give permission to people to do on their own. Kind of like a barber telling you to cut your own hair. It's like, all right, you can trim your beard, but only occasionally. So do that one thing, and I think you won't lose a lot of money, especially if you're only spending $1 or $2 a day.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think people jump onto Facebook and whatever ads, and they're so easy to do, but then they get no results, and they say, "Oh, that doesn't work. That's a lot of nonsense." And at the end of the day, it's, if you do it right, it's just a couple of tweaks that you need to do. Yeah, it is very powerful, and yeah, I think you would agree. Right now is the easiest time in history to be in business, because marketing is so easy, right?
Yeah, totally. It's not, and it not only is it so easy, it's also, you can set it up immediately, but you can track. Like that is my favorite thing. That's kind of my beef with billboards or print ads, is that it's really hard to track. If I cannot track the actual money that I'm spending all the way to the direct return on investment, I don't like spending money in that. So I've got a client right now who we're getting a 4.5 return on ad spend, which means for every $1,000 we spend, we're getting $4,500 back. And so let's say we spent that much in a day, we're getting $4,500 back. And then I don't want to lose everybody on the math here, but then we've got about 60% margin. So we, tie in 60% of 4,500, and then that's their margin. And then we minus $1,000 in ad spend. Then they're getting like $171,730, right? So for every $100,000 they're spending, they're getting $1,730 back. So that's pretty great. I mean, I would like a machine that I can put money into and I magically get more back, almost 2x what I just literally put in. And it's not like stocks where it's unpredictable, there's emotions in it. It's pretty much, once you've built the system, it's a microwave that you can literally put money in back, put money into, microwave it, and bring it back out, and it's worth more.
It's a great way to look at it. I really like that. You do these great courses, and in one of the courses you talk about revenue leaks. What do you mean by that?
Most business owners, one of the easiest revenue leaks is that they spend a lot of money on things they don't actually need. So, software tools, maybe they're paying too much for rent, whatever. So there's a lot of revenue leaks that ultimately are draining your bottom line revenue. So you've got your top line revenue. Obviously, it's like what you're grossing, and then you've got all your expenses. A lot of revenue leaks are actual expenses that you're paying for that you kind of justify to yourself. You're like, we spend this much on bookkeeping, but yet there's a software that will actually do all your bookkeeping for you. And so one of them, a great example in this category would be Bench. It's called BENCH. It's a software tool, and it does all my bookkeeping for me. They're actual people that go in and review it, and it's super affordable. And the revenue leak in this is paying too much for an in-house bookkeeper. And then the other revenue leak for most business owners is doing your own books, because if you're doing your own books as a small business owner, you cannot scale that. You need to be outsourcing that. And so that's a revenue leak. Another revenue leak that is not necessarily an expense, but is costing you money or costing your bottom line revenue, is playing the hero of your own marketing. So the first example I told you is like an actual expense that you're paying for. That's a revenue leak. A different type is making a mistake, and that's basically leaking your revenue. So the mistake I just referred to is playing the hero of your own marketing, because most people, when they're out there, they're the hero of their own story. They're not looking for another hero. They're looking for a guide to ultimately help them get where they want to go. And that's what we serve as businesses. But often we talk about how awesome we are, how long we've been doing this, whatever. But in reality, people are looking for a guide to help them get where they want to go, not for another hero. So that's an example of a different kind of revenue leak.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it's kind of the story that you tell about your brand. And I think, what I read a lot about these days is people want to know why you do what you do, and not so much how you do it. So it speaks to that as well, right?
Totally. And a great way here's a great, easy to implement thing would be simply create a plan and put it on your website. So how do you actually work with you? And I'm going to limit you to only 3 steps. So even if we have to oversimplify it, I was talking to a guy in New York. We were talking about how to simplify his plan. Currently, he's got a 12-step plan. That feels intimidating, overwhelming to most people. Now, he's a cabinet contractor for like multi-family, real estate stuff. So he's like, each contract's worth $1 million. And so I'm thinking to myself, all right, now that's a big revenue lake. If people come to your website and are intimidated by how many steps there are to work with you, or it's unclear how to actually work with you, you're losing a lot of money. So this guy's losing millions of dollars worth of money because he doesn't have a 3-step plan on his website, which says, apply to work with this tier. We'll build out a custom solution for you here, and then we'll implement it, and you can get on with your way and sell this real estate or whatever. So very simplify it, make it 3 phases or whatever, and let the last one be some sort of success oriented. Enjoy your life is better because of working with us.
Right. And it's interesting that you say that, because I was going to bring up like a lead magnet for me is a one sheet on the 7 steps to buying a franchise. But I could
Yes.
actually break that into 3 steps. Evaluate what your goals are, do your due diligence on franchising, buy a franchise, and live happily ever after.
Yep. Totally. I mean, it's that simple. But here's the thing, like most people come onto your website and they think, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so complicated. Like, because if I contact Tom, I don't know what that's gonna mean. I don't know how this process is gonna take, whatever. But if you just have that 3-step plan in place, their subconscious is gonna go, oh, I could do this. It's basically like, so I'm a StoryBrand certified guide. And so what that basically means is I use a 7-part framework in order to create our clients' marketing. And in StoryBrand, we talk about how there's this river that we ask people to cross. So in this river, it's not only, hey, in order to work with us, cross this little, stream or creek or whatever, there's actually a waterfall at the end of this stream or creek. And so people think, oh, I don't really know if I want to cross this little stream or creek here because this is waterfall. But if you put 3 stepping stones for them to hop across the river, it's a whole lot easier for them to work with you because it feels a lot less intimidating.
That's a great visual. I love that. Really good stuff right there. So what are some lessons you've learned through adversity in your life? I mean, I find that the most fascinating kind of stuff.
Man, I think ultimately the thing that rings true in my head at this moment is having an internal locus of control. You mentioned it at the beginning. My upbringing for the most part was really great, and then my dad started to struggle with a narcotics addiction, which he had before my parents got married and stuff like that. So he kind of relapsed in that area for a few years, which was really tough. And so ultimately, we lost pretty much everything. Like everything got foreclosed on. I grew up in a fairly affluent neighborhood and stuff like that. And so I went from everything I could ever want and more to there's bank notices and we gotta get out of the house because it's foreclosed on. And so that was very different. And then my mom ultimately having to like provide for us and like work a customer in job. And it was a really tough season. So I like felt a scarcity mindset in that season because I was like, even though my mom did a great job of trying to like basically make me feel safe and everything was going to be okay, I'm still aware, I'm 16, 15 years old ish. And so I'm looking at the bank notice going, that can't be good. Anyway, so I basically developed this option in my head to go, all right, I can either feel like a victim and I can just start doing drugs myself. I can kind of, for lack of a better word, kind of let my life go and just do whatever's going to make me feel good. Or I can just say, you know what, I'm not a victim to this scenario and I'm going to control what I can control. I can't control everything. And that ultimately, I think, has been the thing that has carried me through that entire process and also helped me to be successful in my company. So like, if the market's not doing good, well, okay, what can I control in that moment? So,
Yeah, that's exactly right. And one of my own mentors said the same thing. It's not what you got to concentrate on what you can control every day, and what's out of your control is out of your control. Don't even think about it because that's what's going to drag you down, the hole. So, really good advice there. So I want to take it out of the business and more into like a work environment as an employee. How could somebody really create influence in their own job?
Yeah, I kind of have these 4 parts of how to actually do that. I'll kind of simplify it. I'll just simplify it down to 3 steps. the first one is being faithful. And so I think that the easiest way to gain influence at work over the long term is to be faithful. And so what I mean by that is if you say you're going to do something, you actually do it. somebody asks you to do something, you do that. You don't fall short. You don't fail to get back in touch with somebody. When Tom and I were scheduling a time to talk, it was like, hey, I need to be faithful to actually show up on time when I said I was going to. I had a guy who wanted to be an intern. He wanted to be an intern so bad. And I get it. I mean, he had the sales DNA. He's very persistent, which I appreciate. However, I said, okay, let's just have a call. We'll have a call together. And the guy was late, like 20 minutes late. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't trust this guy. He didn't do what he said he was going to do. So that is an example of faithfulness. It's just basically to be faithful with what you've been entrusted. The second one is very simple, is to be self-aware. And so if you could be self-aware, you're ultimately going to be able to manage how people perceive you. I'm a really big fan of being authentic to yourself, because ultimately that's going to be more sustainable long term. So I'm not asking you to be a different person. I'm just asking you to be the best version of you. And so if you're not aware of how you're coming off or how people perceive you, you cannot do anything to mitigate that. So I'm a very intense person. And so I have to be very aware of how I say things to people, or else I might hurt their feelings and I might not mean to. Say, I've worked for other people. And so like, if I thought my boss did something stupid, I need to be careful how I actually approach that. Most people are going to be shy. I'm probably going to, get in trouble for not being, humble about it. So I need to try to be humble about that, whatever. So the last one is to bring clarity. This is the secret sauce. This is the easiest way to get influence at work. But if you're not doing the first two, you won't have that influence long. So the first two are long-term influence. And if you really just want to advance at work and get there very quickly, it's going to be bringing clarity into a situation that there is not clarity. And what I mean by that is, if you can put words to what everybody's feeling and thinking and ultimately provide a solution, you're going to get plenty of opportunities for advancement in that moment, because they're going to think, wow, this guy really knows what he's doing. This she's really on top of it. And so if you can bring clarity into a situation like that and provide a solution, I think, man, you're going to skyrocket your influence right there.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. And we could talk about those things probably a whole podcast.
Yeah.
So I love that. What books have you read that you would recommend to somebody?
Well, I've got three right now that just came to mind. One is Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Big fan of that. We use that marketing message all the time. And so I would suggest you check out Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Number one. Number two, this one's almost like a textbook, but if you really want to write copy that sells, the book is How to Write Copy That Sells by Ray Edwards. That one's also really good. And then I'm reading another one right now. I'll just say the second one is a tough read. So the first one, Story Brand's great, easy read. The second one's a tough read. If you're not in the business marketing space, don't waste your time, because you're going to think it's awful and boring. However, if you are in the marketing space, you'll appreciate that one. The third one is Motive by Patrick Lencioni. I'm in the middle of reading that one right now, but I love how he writes. I love how there's stories, and it feels like I'm just reading a fiction book, which is great.
Oh, wow. Yeah, great stuff. So you gave us a tech hack with the bookkeeping software. What was it? Bench?
Bench. B-E-N-C-H.
Bench. Cool. Any other hacks that help you in your life technology-wise right now?
Golly, I mean, I try to hyper optimize my time. I probably really only work on Caffeine Marketing and my other business ventures probably 15 hours a week, truly. And I do that because I have a system that I run. So there's more to it than this. I mean, it really comes down to, nutrition, health, sleep, and all that stuff. So whenever I'm actually working, I'm getting work done and I'm really focused and there's no distractions. So I only answer my emails and stuff like that once a day or so. So anyway, but as far as actual tech systems, I try to automate everything. Here's my new favorite one. So I've got multiple calendars. This one's called Reclaim Life. And I can Tom, I'll send you the link for these guys so that everybody can access them in the show notes or whatever. But this one's called Reclaim Life. And what it does is, if you have two calendars, so say you have a personal calendar and you've got a work calendar, you can send your personal calendar stuff to your work calendar and it marks it as busy. So especially in this day and age where people, might be working from home or whatever. This is awesome because you can now say, hey, like, I'm not available during these times, and it's all personal stuff. So you have two separate calendars, and then it just automatically marks it. And I had been trying to do this via Zapier, or it's called, like an API integration, and
Yep.
it's costing me like $150 a month because I had so many. It had my calendar had to update so many times, but then all of a sudden I get this app, and it's like $9, and I think it's free right now. So yeah, I mean, I've Reclaim Life and bench bookkeeping. Those two things right there will save your life.
So Reclaim Life, as you're saying that, I'm thinking it would be really cool to integrate like your spouse's calendar as well if you're married or have a significant
Yeah.
other. So that person's stuff, right? Am I right on that?
So think of it less as like getting calendars to talk to one another, because I can share my work calendar and my personal calendar with my wife. So my wife kind of manages our family calendar. She'll invite me to stuff, and I can accept or deny, which I should always accept, But think of this as like you are using one calendar to mark availability on a different calendar. So you're marking things as busy. So if I wanted to go take care of my son right now, or not right now, but like on Friday at 10:30 p.m. or not p.m. a.m. But that's a work day for me. But I want to go out with my son and stroll him around the park or something like that, whatever. I put that on my personal calendar because that's a personal activity, but it automatically marks my work calendar as busy. So nobody can schedule a time with me because my personal calendar is busy.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I could use that actually myself. That's super. So,
Cool.
how did you come up with the name Caffeine Marketing of all names of businesses?
I feel like entrepreneurs, business owners, franchise owners, we really live and thrive off grit and hard work. And for those who are successful, that's generally the thing that gets them there, is that grit and hard work. However, the thing that fuels them is caffeine. And so a lot of them, drinking coffee, burning the midnight oil on occasion. And so, yeah, I felt like it really connected with the entrepreneur, small business owner that we serve. So.
Yeah. It caught my attention. And I'm a caffeine freak. So yeah, I've been drinking coffee since first grade. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. It's like it's an old Italian thing. I used to have my mother would give me coffee with breakfast literally in grade school. I don't know.
That's amazing.
But I appreciate you, man. So what's a great way to get in touch with you for the listeners?
Yeah. So if you are, a business owner out there, the easiest way to connect with me is to go to our agency website. It's going to be caffeine.marketing. So caffeine.marketing, no.com, just caffeine.marketing. And then if anybody else just wants to, chat, connect with me or whatever, evanknox.com. So just my name, evanknox.com. And then on both of those websites, I've actually got a free guide on how to build a winning sales funnel. So it's very comprehensive. It's going to teach you how to walk those people from brand awareness to consideration and finally to conversion, and help you turn subscribers into customers. It's really awesome. So make sure that you check that out. It's on both of those websites.
That's really great. I really appreciate that. And those listening, you should definitely go in and get the free info. So get Evan's Pearls of Wisdom. It's all free. Just download it. You could probably implement one or two things right off the bat. So I really appreciate your time, Evan. This is really, really great to have you on here. Just giving us all this great marketing data for our listeners. So thank you so much for being on the Franchise Academy. And,
thanks, Tom. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, this is great. So stay safe, and God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.